From your local election headquarters, here's Fred Childers with This Week in Louisiana Politics.
And good Sunday morning to you. I'm Fred Childers. I hope you're enjoying your weekend. Thank you for joining us for This Week in Louisiana Politics on your local election headquarters. Let's get started. It has only been a couple of weeks since the legislature passed that new congressional map that added a majority-minority district, and already a lawsuit has been filed against it. Nick Sommer reports.
A new lawsuit has been filed against the congressional map recently passed by the legislature that created a second majority-minority district. This time, white voters are accusing the legislature of gerrymandering the new district based on race.
We've got 12 plaintiffs that have filed a lawsuit challenging the most recent congressional districting plan based on it being a division of voters in Louisiana based on race.
The plaintiffs in this case find issues with the 6th district stretching from Baton Rouge to Shreveport and the outline it takes to do so.
And the voters that have sued as plaintiffs believe that this district simply is a barrier to the effectiveness of voters to elect and to control their own representation.
The original redistricting map case was handled in the Middle District. However, this case was filed in a more conservative court, the Western District Court of Louisiana.
We challenge the entire map because when you do racial gerrymandering and you're gathering one voter group into one district, you inherently are discarding the other group into the other district. So you get the segregative effect upon the act of separating voters.
Paul says the history and the demographics in this case are very similar to the Hayes versus Louisiana map and have already been reviewed by a federal court and have been found unacceptable.
The state drew a district very similar to this one, and it was in the Hayes case. I was counsel. At first they did what was called the Zorro district, and it went across the top of the state and then all the way down the river, all the way to Baton Rouge, then looped over to Lafayette. That was thrown out as a racial gerrymander. And it was a slash across Louisiana that was done simply based upon the gathering of black voters and discarding white voters.
If the plaintiffs, composed of voters and civil rights groups, object to a plan approved by the legislature, the district court will determine if that map is compliant with the Voting Rights Act. For your local election headquarters, I'm Nick Sommer.
All right, related to that, the trial that was scheduled to start Monday over the redrawing of that congressional map was canceled in the Middle District Court. The federal judge overseeing the lawsuit, Shelley Dick, was supposed to have an evidentiary hearing on Monday to resolve the issue. But the hearing is no longer needed now that state lawmakers submitted the newly drawn map with a second black majority district. Now, the NAACP will let the court know by Tuesday if the map is acceptable. Now, there is controversy at the Capitol over Governor Landry's Calcasieu River Bridge plan. At the Joint Transportation Committee, 3 Republican state senators questioned its funding. Now, the project would replace the aging Interstate 10 bridge that connects Louisiana to Texas. 2 presidents have stumped at the bridge to talk about investments in infrastructure, but lawmakers shut down the former governor's plan to use a toll. Landry's plan also uses tolls in a slightly different way, but truckers say they don't want to pay. Despite that, the committee advanced the plan. Governor Landry announced the leaders tapped by his administration to oversee Louisiana's coastal master plan on Wednesday morning from Nicholls State University in Thibodaux. New chairman of Coastal Protection and Restoration Authority, Gordon E. Dove, new executive director of CPRA, Glenn Ledette Jr., chairman of the Governor's Advisory Commission on Coastal Protection, Tony Alford, and Commissioner of Conservation, Ben Bienview. While announcing the new appointments, the governor also answered questions about state police presence in New Orleans. He says officers wouldn't just serve areas in and around the French Quarter, but the entire city. As for when or if this will come to fruition, he says he and his cabinet plan to persuade legislators on what he believes to be a crucial measure. By putting the idea into action won't be easy. Now, the mayor of New Orleans and NOPD chief say the city is in alignment with the state, even though the governor is being very critical of the NOPD. Ashley Hamilton reports.
The New Orleans Police Department is in shambles. Governor Jeff Landry's comments on the state of NOPD are being echoed by city leaders who say they agree with Landry's policing policy.
The impacts of the consent decree, the harm, I would say, overall that it's caused, but we have made sure that we've utilized the resources that the consent decree did usher in to make sure that we are at a phase of substantial completion.
Landry believes it will take a decade to rebuild the NOPD, a time frame Kirkpatrick says is too long.
2-year timeline for me is my timeline for getting us back to where we should be without compromise. So I will not lower standards.
Colonel Robert Hodges says the partnership with state police is moving along, with 40 troopers already on board.
We're still waiting to go finalize the plan, and we know that on February 19th, the crime session will take place at the state capitol in Baton Rouge, and those specific details regarding funding and more detailed operations will be discussed. And once the governor and our team agree, along with the New Orleans Police Department, on our deployment and our strategy, we will share some of those things with you all once it becomes finalized.
Kirkpatrick sees this as an asset, keeping the entire city and its visitors safer.
Absolutely going to help us, particularly with calls for service and our response times. They're also going to help us in dealing with our violent crime and the initiatives we're working on. It is always a help from all of our partners.
Projections show Louisiana is staring down a budget shortfall. Governor Landry is looking to get ahead by asking state agencies to tighten their belts. In his executive order, Landry says the number shows a $64 million deficit in this year's budget, and because of the half-cent sales tax rolling off, next year the state is expected to be more than $500 million short. In his order, Landry asked departments to find ways to reduce their budgets. His first executive budget will be presented this week, and by law, it must be balanced. The memory of Devin Page Jr. is still pushing change to fight crime in the capital city as part of the Page Rice Initiative. It's also named after former LSU student Allie Rice. The initiative is adding artificial intelligence equipment to surveillance cameras across Baton Rouge. The upgrades come with more license plate readers and software that will be able to identify someone with a gun and show that person's location.
There are people who live in parts of our community who witness violent crime, but who are terrified to say something about it because they're worried about retaliation. What this does is removes that as a hindrance.
Since its launch, we're told the initiative has installed more than 100 cameras throughout East Baton Rouge Parish and helped law enforcement in several investigations. Well, the upcoming special session on crime will feature a bill to crack down on human trafficking. The author wants the traffickers themselves to be held accountable. Stay with us. We'll be right back.